This is a small clip from one of my main videos. If you like it, then please check out the original video. Okay, bye, love you. Club Penguin Elite Penguin Force Herbert's Revenge released in May of 2010 and is the sequel to Club Penguin Elite Penguin Force. Back then, I remember this being the main game I played between the two, and I remember thinking Elite Penguin Force was the sequel. It's not. With these two games being so similar, a lot of what I said about the original game carries right over to this one. However, I must say, Herbert's Revenge felt a lot more engaging upon revisiting. But, as I discovered soon after playing, there just so happens to be a kinda lame reason for that, which I'll get into. So Herbert's Revenge takes place after a popcorn explosion destroys the Penguin Secret Agency, or PSA, from the online version of Club Penguin. Apparently this was like some big event on there in 2010, a couple years after the first DS game came out. The explosion resulted in the sports shop being replaced with this boring telephone facility, and the PSA being officially rebranded as the Elite Penguin Force, the agency we were already a part of in the previous game, which came out years before any of this happened. It's sorta confusing, because as a sequel to the game Club Penguin Elite Penguin Force, this game acts like we don't already know what the Elite Penguin Force is. Like, the first mission sees us all training to see who should be the leader of the new agency, by having us solve puzzles and play minigames and all that, but I already pretty much became the leader in the last game, so why am I doing it again in a game that's supposed to take place after that one? And then it gets more confusing, because in the next handful of missions, Gary has you using this virtual reality device to play PSA missions? Like, the missions start with this mock loading screen as if we're booting up a simulation of a mission rather than just doing a mission. And why are they called PSA missions? Aren't we supposed to be the EPF now? And then you realize, oh, these are referred to as past PSA missions because they're past PSA missions. So apparently, out of the 10 missions on offer in Herbert's Revenge, 6 of them were taken straight from the secret missions in the online version of Club Penguin with minor changes. That's why Gary calls them PSA missions and not Elite Penguin Force missions, and it's also why we play them through a virtual reality device, because they're old-ass missions from the online game that took place years ago before the Elite Penguin Force was even established. They don't really fit in with the new content story-wise, so the best way to contextualize them? Frame them as simulations of past missions that'll help us learn how to be a great Elite Penguin Force member, so I can use these newly acquired skills in the 3 original missions available afterwards. I was so confused at the end of Mission 7. The popcorn explosion thing happens, and the characters talk about starting up the Elite Penguin Force. Then your character's like, wait, what do you mean the Elite Penguin Force? What's that? Like, it's Mission 7. I thought it was well established that we were already in the Elite Penguin Force, so why is the game acting like we have yet to learn what it is? Have we not been a part of it this whole time? The first mission of the game had us training for it, but sure enough, it turns out that the last 6 missions I played were indeed past missions. Herbert's Revenge starts with 1 current mission, then has us jump years back for 6 missions straight, and by the time you reach Mission 7 and forget that you're just simulating past events that happened before you're supposed to know anything about the EPF, you get thrown back into the current day where you know everything about the EPF. It's like these 6 missions were just a long dream that we woke up from 70% of the way into the adventure. Sure, it explains to the players why we should hate Herbert, but did it have to spend 6 of its 10 missions just retelling past shit to get that across to us? You couldn't have just done a new Herbert plot? Listen, as someone who didn't play the original Club Penguin missions, I had no idea that these were reused content when I played, so I still enjoyed them for what they were, even if the virtual reality setup was confusing. But yeah, if you were a Club Penguin fan who wanted to experience some new missions, this game would have definitely been a disappointment, especially since it's a sequel to another game that did have all original content, so like, why flake out for the sequel? I guess it's sorta cool that this game preserves these missions forever now that Club Penguin is no longer online, but having only 40% of your game be original content is pretty rough. But again, that didn't really affect my time playing it, as I had never experienced any of this stuff beforehand, so it was all fresh for me. And as I said, I enjoyed these missions much more than I enjoyed the first games, and I think most of that has to do with the antagonist Herbert, this polar bear who wants to, I don't know, destroy the island or something. It's not really important. It's great that this game has a lovable supervillain and a moronic sidekick to add some funny to the experience. The first game's plot honestly didn't feel like it had much direction, but here we're constantly getting a load of Herbert's antics and having to put a stop to him, and it's great. The missions, even if they're ripped from the main game, are just far more engaging to me. It's fun to fuck with Herbert and stalk him at his lair, and the side characters like Rookie are given much more personality as well. There are a ton more little touchscreen microgames throughout the missions than last time, which gives the experience much more variety. A few more spy gadgets, like a wrench, some scissors, and a comb, and a new Elite Puffle, a white one that can freeze water to make paths. And the minigames in Herbert's Revenge are far better than the ones in Elite Penguin Force. They still occasionally appear throughout the main missions just like in the first game, but these ones fit in way more naturally and are much more fun in my opinion. Instead of being simple, replayable little distractions like in the first game, these minigames involve actual fleshed out level designs to conquer, almost as if they were designed as extensions of the missions first and minigames second. Jackhammer is a game where you're tasked with digging through blocks to reach the end of the level, while collecting coins and avoiding falling rocks. Getting to the end of the level is easy enough, but the real challenge comes from figuring out how to collect all the coins, which can get quite tricky in some levels. Grapple Gadget has you traversing 2D platforming levels using a grappling hook, while once again collecting coins and avoiding death. This one's pretty fun, probably my favorite in the game. Amazing Maze has you travel through maze puzzles, switching levers to open their corresponding doors, finding and using puffles to progress, sliding on ice. This one's also pretty fun. And lastly, we've got Aqua Rescue, which I think is sort of the dud of the group. Throw life preservers at the spikes beneath the iceberg while avoiding the spiky fish, and you get some little power-ups here and there, nothing special. Overall, it's a pretty decent selection of minigames. Again, not quite as replayable as the ones in the original game, but I wasn't gonna touch that shit again anyways. The last major difference between this game and the first one is the snake tokens. Basically, in each of the 6 stolen PSA missions, there's a hidden snake token for you to find somewhere, somewhere, and if you collect all 6 of them, you unlock this snake game on your spy gadget. Not worth it at all. I usually enjoy little bonus collectibles like this in games, but if you miss one of these tokens your first time around, are you really going to want to replay a mission to go find it? I know I said they're more enjoyable, but they are far from replayable. They still have some of the same problems as the ones in the first game. Random, unpredictable solutions to puzzles that require just checking every area. There was this one mission where you have to react in real time as you blow the gift shop out from underground, then figure out how to stop it from falling back under, and if you don't do it quickly enough, you have to go out and replenish the materials you use by finding them again, which isn't really fun, just kind of annoying. There's been a slight graphical upgrade, the character designs look a bit more polished, and the game presents missions to you through a very straightforward level select screen now, rather than leaving it up to you whether to tackle the next mission or just freely explore the island for other side quests. There just straight up are no side quests in this game, which, I don't mind. They weren't great in the first game anyways, and I was ready to be done after just these. Now there were some seasonal missions in Elite Penguin Force that could be played during certain times of the year. April Fool's Day, summer, Halloween, Christmas, pretty cool. But no such thing exists in Herbert's Revenge, sadly. The 10 missions you can select on this menu are the game's only missions. In Elite Penguin Force, the coins you get could be used to buy clothes for your penguin, but in Herbert's Revenge, they do nothing. They exist solely to be transferred to your online account, which at this point you can't even do. Speaking of online, this game had very little online functionality back then. Yeah, you could transfer your coins, but some things that Elite Penguin Force had, like looking at the newsletter, taking polls, downloading some extra missions, none of that made it into Herbert's Revenge. Both games have a multiplayer component, letting 2 players sort of cooperate during missions, which is sort of cool, but not something I could ever see myself doing. And in Elite Penguin Force, you could compete in some minigames with friends, but you can't do so in Herbert's Revenge. All you can do is share a demo of Jackhammer through download play. Come on, man, you totally could have worked some competitive elements into these games. Like, who can finish a maze the fastest, or collect the most coins in Jackhammer or Grapple Gadget. That would have been sort of cool. In all fairness, these multiplayer and online features, buying clothes, and seasonal missions are by no means things that affect the game that much. Hell, I didn't even know these things existed when I played Elite Penguin Force, so I didn't even notice that Herbert's Revenge took them away. But it's still pretty wild how much of a downgrade it makes Herbert's Revenge look like compared to the first game, especially considering the reused missions. It definitely makes it seem like the game was created as some sort of cash grab rather than out of love and passion. But yeah, that's Herbert's Revenge. It is simply more Elite Penguin Force missions, and also a shit ton of PSA missions apparently. I liked this one a lot more than the first one, but honestly, neither of these games were really that fun. They just aren't my thing. I'm not a big reader, don't care for point and click games, never really got into Club Penguin. I actually have no fucking idea why I'm doing this right now.